students, Jessica, Miss Drawbon here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a correct MLA format Word document. So you have a couple options. If you have Word on your computer, you can use it that way. If you're using a school computer, you can use the Word program on a school computer. So in places like the library, the Word program is already on the school computers. But I'm going to focus on the way that I know everyone has access to, which is through your student email. So through your student email, you have access to Office 365, which includes Word Online, where you can create Word documents and save them and submit them in Canvas. So we'll talk about how to do all of that. So here I am just at mycollege.laccd.edu, which is where you will go to log into your email, and then you want to sign in. So I'm going to sign in, see how long this takes to load, not too long, and then you want to go to your email. So it looks like this. You click email and it'll take you, sometimes it'll take you to a screen that asks you if you want to stay signed in, and then it'll take you to your actual email. Once you get to your actual email inbox, you can click here on Office 365, and that will take you to the Office 365 suite where you have access to all the different programs here. The one we're going to focus on is Word, but you also have access to things like Excel and PowerPoint, and you can see the others as well. I'm going to click on Word since that's what we're going to focus on. You will notice that when you go to Word Online, you have the option to use an MLA style kind of template. I'll click there to show you really quickly what it looks like, but I'll explain why I don't recommend using it. So first of all, I don't recommend using it because I think it's good for you to learn how to set up an MLA format document on your own. And secondly, I've noticed that they reference MLA 7th edition in this template, and that's actually outdated. We have the MLA 8th edition now is the most current one. So I'm not sure that everything in this template is actually up to speed with the 8th edition. So we're going to focus on creating a blank document, creating an MLA format document from scratch. So I'm going to close that one out. And here we are again on the Word homepage. I'm going to start by clicking on New Blank Document. So just so we have some content to start working with, I'm going to paste some information about MLA format here. So I have this information that has the MLA format topics that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the margins, the spacing, the font, header, heading, title, and indenting new paragraphs. So first of all, the margins. We want in MLA format 1-inch margins all around. So in order to set your margins in your document, and this is going to look the same whether you're using Word program on your computer or Word Online like I'm using, you want to go to Layout. There's a little Layout tab, and under the Margins drop down, you want to select Normal, which is 1 inch all around. That's usually what it is by default, but it's always good to check because you never know what the last setting you used was. So that's the margins. Second thing we're going to talk about is spacing. We want our document to be double spaced throughout, like it says here, with no extra spaces between paragraphs. So since we're already using some content, some text here, I'm going to highlight it so it applies to this text that's already here. When it comes to setting your spacing, you still want to be in Layout, and in this case you want to do, over here is where the spacing options are. You want to make sure that spacing before is set to 0 point and spacing after is also set to 0 point. So I'm going to just click down until it's at 0, which is what I want. I don't want there to be extra spaces between paragraphs. Second, I want to make sure that it's double spaced. So I'm going to click these 3 little dots here for more paragraph options. I'm going to click more paragraph options. And then on the right side here where it says line spacing, I'm going to select double because I want my whole document to be double spaced, and then I'm going to click OK. And you can see now it's how we want it. It's double spaced and there's no extra spaces between each new paragraph or each new section. Third, we're going to focus on the font. We want our font always to be Times New Roman and 12-point font when we're doing an MLA format document. So I'm going to highlight this text that I already have, and then I'm going to go to this Home tab and select, here's the font area. I'm going to select Times New Roman, and I'm going to select 12-point, which is just the size of the font. This is considered a good font. It makes it easy to read. It's a size that's easy to read for most people. That's why the MLA organization has chosen it. All right, so we have our margin set, we have our spacing set, we have our font set. Now we're going to talk about a header. The header just means that at the top of each MLA format page, we want to make sure that there is a last name and page number. So in order to do that, you don't want to do it manually by just typing it in and pressing enter till it's where you want it. That can be kind of confusing and can get changed if you press enter. It's just a little messy. So what we actually want to do is insert actual page numbers. So you go to Insert, and then you see there's all these different options for what you can insert. You want to select page numbers, and you want to select this top right one. So I'm clicked there. You can see as it says here, it says we'll add page numbers here. So you don't have to mess with that. But what you do need to do is add your last name. So I'm going to use the last name Nas X. I'm going to pretend to be Lil Nas X because I just learned who that is and I'm feeling pretty cool for knowing. So we're going to do the last name Nas X. Now, of course, most people's last name is just one word, but in this case, we're going to pretend to be not Lil Nas X. So ours is going to be Nas X space. Now, we're not quite done. By default, Word is trying to make it a different font, but we want it to be still Times New Roman and still 12-point font. So we're going to highlight this last name and page number, and then we're going to go back to this Home tab, and down here in the font area, select Times New Roman and select 12. And now we have a 12-point Times New Roman header like we want. When you're done setting your header, double-click back into the document. One other thing I wanted to mention is when you set your header, you'll notice you don't actually see it. Instead, you just see this little tab indicating that the header is there. So don't freak out if you don't see your actual last name and page number here. If you see this little header tab, you know that it's there. And now we're going to focus on an MLA heading. So to show you what an actual MLA format document is going to look like, I'm going to delete the content that I have here so far. And we're going to do the MLA heading here. So an MLA heading is just on the first page, so you only have to type it once, and it should be, the format should be your name, press enter, and then you put the teacher's name, press enter, and put the class name, press enter, and put the date. And for the date, there's a specific format that we're going to use. So in this case, we're pretending to be Lil Nas X. Now one note is, because I deleted that content, it's going back to the default font, so I need to make sure it's still Times New Roman and 12, and now it will remember. It's just because I deleted some of that content that it went back to the default. So once again, it's your name, it's the teacher's name, we'll use my name in this example, it's the class name, so English 101, and then the date. For the date, the MLA format way to put your date is the day of the month first, then the month, and then the year. So if it's July 15th, we would do 15 July 2019. One other thing to keep in mind in terms of what date to put is most of the time we put the due date of the essay as the date on the final draft. So keep that in mind. So now that we have our heading, we also want to make sure to have a title. And in MLA format, our title should be centered. So I'm going to click up here. This is where you decide if you want it to be left, centered, or right. In this case, we want center because it's the title. And since we're being Lil Nas X, we're going to put Old Town Road. And now we have our MLA format header up here, we have our heading, and then we have our title, which is centered. When you're ready to actually start your introduction paragraph, you press enter, and then you want to go back to being left aligned because you want it to be on the left. The only thing that should be centered is the title. So another important element of MLA format is that each new paragraph should be indented. So just so we have some material to work with, I'm going to paste some lyrics from Old Town Road here in the paragraph. Oops, let's do it again. There it is. So you can see by default it isn't indented, but I do want the beginning of every paragraph to be indented. So in order to do that, you just put the cursor in front of it and press tab, and that'll indent a consistent amount for each paragraph. If I was ready to go to another paragraph, I would just press enter, and the nice thing is that Word will now remember that I like to indent the beginning of my paragraphs, so it's going to start indented for me. One other thing I wanted to discuss on this video is a works cited page. So anytime that you use an outside source, so an article or someone else's words or ideas, you have to give them credit in two places. First, you have to give them credit within your actual essay. That's when you do something like a signal phrase that says, so-and-so says, and then you include a quote. But you also want to give them credit in your works cited page. And the works cited page is just a page at the end of your essay that gives details about where you found your information. So the works cited page should be on a new page. It should be its own page. So it shouldn't be on the same page, like just right after the conclusion or something like that. You want it to be on a separate page. In order to make sure it is on a separate page, you can go to Insert and then Page Break, and that'll create a page break. So it's going to start this next part on this new page. For the works cited page, it should have its own title, which is Works Cited. I'm going to go back home, and I'm going to go to Center, and I'm going to type in Works Cited. Whoops, Works Cited, and now I have a centered title for my Works Cited page. I'm going to quickly show you what a works cited entry would look like by pasting one that I already had copied. So here's what it will look like. You'll notice that the first line is up against the left-hand margin, and then any line after that is indented a little bit. And that makes it easier to figure out where one source ends and the next one begins. So if I was adding another source, I'm just going to paste the same one, you can see really clearly, you can tell where a new source is beginning because of this indenting the lines after the first line. So this is the format of the works cited page. Last, I wanted to talk about saving your Word document, because in order to submit on Canvas, you have to have the document saved as a file on your computer. So right now we're using Word Online, so you want to make sure that you save an actual copy of this document. In order to do that, you go up here to File, and you go to Save As, and you'll be given some options. One option is to save a copy online, which will save a copy in your your Office 365 account online. But for Canvas, for submitting on Canvas, we need to actually download a copy. So you have three options here. You can download a copy as a Word document, you can download a copy as a PDF, or you can download a copy as an ODT. Any of these files will be fine for submitting into Canvas. I'm going to show you, for example, download a copy as a Word document. It'll say your document is ready, you click download, and then I'm using Google Chrome, so it's showing up down here, and when it's ready I can click on it. Looks like it might not quite be ready. There it is, it's open. All right, and so it's going to look like this. So you'll notice that even though we couldn't see the header in our online version, you can see that the header is really there, and it looks how we want. We have a page break with the works cited page, and it looks exactly like we want it to. So that's how you save an actual file in order to submit it to Canvas. So at this point, I would go ahead and save it wherever I wanted to save it, for example, on my desktop, somewhere that I can access it later to actually submit to Canvas. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video.